My first guest tonight is the mayor of a great American city. And as most cities throughout the country grapple with protests, sometimes violent, in the wake of the George Floyd killing, Miami has had relative calm. So what are they doing differently? And what are they doing right? And can other mayors learn some lessons about how to ease the unrest? We welcome Miami Mayor Francis Suarez. Mayor, delighted to have you here. And I'm going to get right into what are you doing differently in Miami that has given that city a relative calm versus so many other places across America?
There's so many different things that we've done. We're a city that is no stranger to civil unrest over the years. When my father was mayor in the 1980s, he had to deal with basically what was a riot from an officer-involved shooting in 1989. When I was a commissioner, we had to fire a police chief because there were 7 officer-involved shootings of African Americans in 1 year. And so we've established a very, very strong bond with the community as a result of some of these events. Our police chief, who is phenomenal, has also been focused tremendously on growing those bonds and implementing a community policing model that has strengthened the relationship between the police and our community. We had a press conference on both Saturday and on Sunday with community leaders and members of the pastoral community, members of the faith-based community, urging people to protest peacefully and not to engage in the kinds of things that we were seeing throughout the country, and that obviously helped.
You did something that I found just stunning. You gave out your cell phone number and said if anyone wants to talk to you and visit with you, you were available. I mean, I've never heard of a mayor of a small town doing that, much less a city the size of Miami, a major American city. How did that turn out? How many calls did you get on your cell phone when you did that?
I got about 500 text messages from people who either want to say thank you for the leadership that we've displayed and the way that Miami has been a national model, or people giving us really concrete examples, wanting to get together and really want to roll their sleeves up. I think the issue here is, Governor, and I know you know this from being a chief executive of your state, is there's a time to talk and there's a time for action. And I think the big issue now is how do we translate this momentum for reform into actual reforms that heals our community and that makes policing, which, by the way, has become increasingly more difficult with the bigger challenges that we throw on our police officers, the fact that they're under an intense amount of scrutiny. And I'm not in any way condoning what happened in Minneapolis. Obviously, that was despicable. But we have to continue to work hard to create the kind of policies that are going to promote peace instead of violence.
What have you done in policing policies in Miami that are dramatically different than other cities? Because we see riots and looting, and in some cities, the mayors have basically told the police to stand down and to let it go. And that seems only to encourage more of it. You have not had that problem in Miami. There's been protests, they've been peaceful, and it's largely been contained. Obviously, some different kind of decisions are being made in terms of police tactics. Tell us what you're doing that might help some other mayors and governors for their states and cities.
It's an incredibly delicate balance. You have to balance never losing control of your city, not letting people damage or burn symbols that sort of promote lawlessness or chaos or anarchy. But at the same time, you want to give people the space to express their very, very valid frustrations and anger and emotions. And so we did that on Saturday. We changed tactics from Saturday to Sunday. On Saturday, what we did was we held our police officers that were in riot gear, basically protecting the police department. One of the things that we unfortunately had to do because we left some cars exposed, we did have to use tear gas on Saturday. We didn't use it on Sunday. And what we saw was not using it on Sunday and instead using these pretty amazing bike patrols that we have that actually serve. They do an incredible function. They create like a fence, and then they penetrate and fence and penetrate and fence. And they did that very effectively. We removed the symbols on Sunday so that there was nothing that anyone can rally around and destroy as a means of displaying lawlessness or anarchy or chaos. And so that allowed the protesters to focus on what they were there to do, which was protest and not riot or destroy property.
Mayor, I have a better understanding of why you got elected with 86% of the vote, which is just stunning. But your leadership is a remarkable example of how it can and should be done. And we're so grateful to have you here. And I want to add one final word. My experience is that the Cuban Americans in the Miami area are the most freedom-loving people I've ever met in my entire life. And they understand the joy, the gift of freedom in a way that I wish every American did. And I'm so grateful for the example that we have from the Cuban American community. So grateful to you, Mayor. It is an honor to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Governor. The honor is mine, and you're absolutely right about the Cuban American people. When something has been taken from you and has been replaced by this evil ideology of communism, it's very easy to love and thirst for democracy and freedom, and that's something that we have exemplified for now a second generation here. I'm the first Miami-born mayor. My dad was the first Cuban-born mayor.
You can keep up with Mayor Suarez on social media at Francis Suarez, as well as his official account at Miami Mayor.